is October 20th, and we have with us tonight board members Sarah Robinson, Jess Campbell, Barb Higgins, and Sarah Sadowski, as well as fabulous staff that we can't wait to hear. We just love it when you guys show up here. You know that. We told you that before. We'll turn it over to him. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have 3 agenda items listed for today. We're going to do a presentation on the 306s with our high school team. And we're going to be presenting the ELA vertical alignment K through 12 just off the press with the instructional committee so that it could go to the full board to be voted on. And actually, the 306s will also require a vote. We're going to move those two to the December board meeting for votes and presentations, okay? And then the last agenda item is Brenda would just like an update on some of the curriculum initiatives for this year. Thank you very much. So we have a shared PowerPoint that we're going to present, and I'm going to go ahead and start off with Eileen. Eileen, are you starting off?
I can start the first slide, and then I'm going to hand it over to you, Kim, for the overview. Okay, on slide 2. I am controlling it. To see them shuffling papers, though, so I'm going to wait patiently. Thank you. All right, so we are here today with Kim's guidance and with Chris's guidance as well, to start talking with you about the new minimum standards, otherwise known as the 306s. Today is a really broad overview. And so, but the opening slide helps you to understand that we're talking about a series of standards that impact the class of 2030. It's next year's incoming 9th graders who have to meet the minimum standards by the time they graduate from high school. So this is not an impending must all change tomorrow. We have time, and we're looking at it as getting the class of 2030 and beyond ready. That's where we are, big picture.
So the minimum standards for K through 12 public schools were approved in New Hampshire in July, was it?
December.
July. And it's basically a set of administrative rules that dictate requirements, minimum requirements, for K through 12 public schools in New Hampshire. We will be presenting a lot more about impacts at our December meeting, but we're going to give you an overview of what that means at this point, and you have 2 handouts to guide you as well.
So the minimum standards have taken a while for a whole lot of districts to really grasp in terms of what has changed, how do we change with it, do we delete things, edit them, add things. CHS has done a great job tackling those questions, and I think that the biggest takeaway that I've learned about the 306s is that we're really looking at competencies. So the state hands down academic standards, but competencies are controlled at the local level. So the CH staff has worked really hard on mapping competencies to all their existing courses. And that alone sets the high school apart from many, many, many districts in the state. Having gone to workshops with Graham, we learned that we're in very good shape. We have a long ways to go, but we're in good shape. So I think what's most important to understand is that competencies are now the foundation to graduation requirements. It's no longer about seat time, but it's about competencies and mastery within not just courses, but beyond, and that's something that the whole team will talk about later on, the beyond.
So even though the minimum standards are K through 12, and that's important for everybody to know, and Kim's going to talk a little bit about minimum standards, small changes, even K through 8. We're here as a high school team because, as you can anticipate, that second bullet on the 7 big takeaways, graduation requirements, is an area where we have really had to dig in. And so these new requirements do make some shifts in some content areas in specific around where they are to now earn 0.5 credits, or 1.0 credits. And so we're trying to navigate that and also look at that in relationship to our Concord High School graduation requirements. Like Kim mentioned, these are the minimums, that's what the 306s are, and then you have your high school requirements. And so we're really trying to work through that right now, and we'll be ready for that to present to you in December.
I have a quick question, just for my own personal context. It's been a while since I've dipped into the 306s, and when they were being debated, proficiency and mastery had really subpar definitions that were pretty wonky. Did those come to any sort of refinement, or are they still incredibly vague?
No, they're still pretty vague.
Okay.
They're still pretty vague. And they're, when they look at proficiency or mastery, they're basically both talking about passing courses, at least for us at the high school level.
We can leave that to the local areas of the district to determine what is proficient.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, usual.
Decide where I send my kids to high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, precisely. Thank you for humoring me. I appreciate that.
You local.
With the parental engagement.
Yeah.
So with the parental engagement, where it talks about the increased focus on involvement through improved access and communication about competency progress, I think that's something that we're already doing very well at Concord High School, where we've been working with competencies and reporting on competencies for a while now. Our new learning platform and student information system, where parents can look at grades, they can actually click on a course and see how students' proficiency levels are in each competency in that course. Another step that we've been taking that's really come out of our NEASC work as it pertains to the parental engagement is our teachers have been working hard to get some standard curriculum mapping. Curriculum maps have existed forever. I think where it happens in a lot of schools is they live in different places in different formats. And one big push that we've done this year is having teachers using our Schoology platform to have a consistent curriculum mapping process that lays out all of our competencies, all of our standards, all of the assessments, all of the essential questions, really all the guiding the guide for what that course is going to be and what kids should come out knowing and being able to do. And I think the goal with that too, once we get them refined, is to be able to even publish those ahead of time to parents so they can see before a kid even goes into a course, they can see what the assessments are going to be, what are the essential questions, all of those key kind of foundations of any curriculum.
Jim, would you all prefer questions after, or?
Doesn't matter, yeah.
I'm just wondering, with the parental engagement, how are parents learning about these tools, and where do they learn how to find them and use them to help their students?
So we've done a lot of work in putting out videos, tutorial videos, messaging out to all parents through Parent Square when we've had our back to school nights or parent information nights. Kylene's actually run some sessions, some breakout sessions for parents to come and learn, and we've handed them out their login information, all of the directions that they need. Lucky for us at the high school level, most of the kids are able to access it and navigate it and can also kind of be that helper at home. It's not 100%, but I think we've done a good job in trying to make sure all parents are educated and know how to access this information when they need.
Quick follow-up, do you have any data on what percentage of your parents are actually engaging in it?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know if, I'm sure the system has the capability to do that. Could probably give us a report on how many.
Signed in, logged in, checked
Yeah,
out.
how many parents have actually logged in and
See, how engaged are they
Yeah.
in this? So,
That would also be a good piece of information when you have a student that's struggling and you see, wow, they're in a family where there's no parental engagement.
Yep.
Can change the thought process of the teachers. And
I know in general power school you can so where the attendance is housed and maybe the grades, I know you can get that for each individual student. You can click on login information, and you can see how many times a parent has logged in. For the Schoology gradebook, that's a good question to try to get some answers to.
Thank you.
Our innovation with learning at CHS has always been at the forefront of what we've been doing. About a decade ago, we were part of the pilot for the PACE program, which was performance-based assessments. We're one of 10 schools in the state at the high school level that took that on. And really, that changed how we viewed most of our courses in allowing kids to demonstrate proficiency, mastery, competency in a variety of different ways. Because we came to realize, as we've all known for a long time, that students learn at different rates differently. And this was the first kind of program that put that into place. And since then, we've taken that single program and extended that to all the schools. Courses, curriculums, and over the past 3 years, we've had about a dozen courses, thanks to you guys, approved, all created with competency-based learning in mind. Anything from our robust AP courses, where we've added 3 in the past 4 years, to our special ed access music program. So it's getting kids opportunities integrated within the whole school as well as outside of their traditional classroom environment. The ELO program is growing exponentially over the past 5 years with a specified coordinator. We have about 100 students who are currently enrolled in an ELO, and that involves anything from an internship with a local business or company. We have a student who's doing a marine biology. So it's that personalized, flexible learning option where they are doing it outside of the school day on their own time, but it's still counting toward those credits and those competencies as they're earning through high school.
Okay, so I did also, as a caveat, I wanted to mention that our district isn't alone in addressing these 306s. I guess Chris and Graham went to a session that was held locally, and then the assistant superintendents in the Lakes region meet monthly and have been doing a lot of work around the 306s. So it's really nice to see that collaborative effort and that brainstorming about, well, how are you going to make the adjustments to your credit requirements, et cetera. A good piece of news is that there's minimum impact on the K through 8 programming. Essentially, we already knew this from an RSA that came down that we need to adopt a reading program that is research-based, scientifically proven, and includes phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. So we already have that in the process right now in terms of selecting a program. A mandate is opportunities for differentiated support. That's something that we do very well throughout the district. We need to have the multi-tiered system language there that we are helping students at all tiers, Tier 1, Tiers 2, and Tier 3, which we are doing a great job at that. The other requirement is that social studies at the K through 8, and this is primarily really 6 through 8. We're going to make sure that our social studies has topics related to civics. And as you know, students are required to pass the civics exam in order to be able to graduate. And again, allowing the demonstration of achievement and competencies. You'll recall that 2 years back, we did a new report card, and the report card is a competency-based report card, so we've nailed it with that. We're all set. The students demonstrate what they know and are able to do in order to be proficient at a certain topic. And then we need to have a comprehensive and developmentally appropriate counseling curriculum, K through 12, and that curriculum has to be brought to the board every other year for approval. In order for you to approve it, there needs to be a presentation. So we have that set up for February, I believe, the February board meeting. It's going to have to be a standalone full board meeting and a presentation to the entire board that gets voted on. And that will happen every other year.
For counseling, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for the counseling curriculum.
That we have a comprehensive curriculum. So you'll see more about that coming soon.
There's a lot happening, isn't it?
Sarah, could you just remind me what the MTSS acronym stands for? I know it's a
Multi-tiered
process
systems
of.
of support.
Okay, thank you.
I'm so sorry. You just mentioned a civics exam?
Yes.
Yeah.
At the high school, it's required to pass the civics exam in order to graduate. And so students can take the exam as many times as they want or need to.
Is this New Hampshire or?
This
Yeah.
is specifically New Hampshire.
That's attached to an RSA as well.
That came through like
2
3
years.
2 years
2 years
ago.
ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you have to pass
We
it.
report it to the state every
Yep.
year who's passed the test.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
a lot of Frank Edelbluth's tenure at the
I'm
DOE.
picking
There-
this up.
Yeah.
This past year, we've been talking with the DOE in regards to accommodations for students and
Oh my God,
completing
yeah.
that. So the DOE, although I don't know of a situation where we've done this, but we may have where we could provide the student the necessary accommodations that a student has per their IEP, not necessarily students' identification, and supposedly working with the DOE, they will provide us with appropriate accommodations. I have not seen that happen yet, nor have we requested it. Do you guys know of any situation?
We have had excellent success in students being able to meet the exam up until this point. It is moving over to the state testing system this year through TIDE, which is how students take it at the elementary schools. The DOE is working closely with us and Krista Mers, our assessment coordinator, to understand how we continue to provide supports. Chris has been in contact with someone over there consistently. So I'm optimistic we're going to be in the forefront of that again. In fact, they're asking us for some suggestions on how to go about doing that effectively. But that's where we are right now with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I always value when they reach out to the Concord School District for help implementing the policies that they enact.
We're happy to work with them in support of our students, that is for sure.
You do a great job.
Do those civics exams, do they start in the lower grades building on knowledge, or is it just something that's introduced at the high school and we expect our students to be able to pass it on?
I mean, civics, I can tell you at the elementary level, is about character and citizenship. Who's your community? And that community gets larger and larger every year. You know, in kindergarten, first grade, it's really, you know, your family unit. And then broaden it to the classroom, broaden that to your school, your larger community, and then looking at your role in those communities as well.
And I know through eighth grade, I believe it was more historical context around the Constitution and what was happening when it was passed, and they go into the Bill of Rights. But in terms of it being like a standalone civics class, that really only happens once they get to high school.
I wonder if I would pass.
That's the thing, is that this was really implemented during a time when there was this beginning rhetoric of indoctrination within schools, and this was a very low-hanging fruit way for people to impose curriculum and another unfunded mandate onto schools to help try and, you know, correct that deficiency or imagined deficiency.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Carry on.
So some of the impacts, 9-12, if we look at the slide and looking at kind of what that traditional high school graduation pathway looks like, where everything's kind of happening in buckets within grade levels. And with the 306s, with it being such a focus on mastery and proficiency and competencies, that's really going to be the focus on students demonstrating that they know these essential skills and know and understand or are able to do specific things and do them well. And like we said earlier, Concord's been at the forefront of competency work for a long time, and one of the few high schools really also reporting back on proficiency outside of the traditional, 0 to 100 or ABCD grading scale, using more of a standards-based approach. And what we'll see too as we look through this 306 is how many of these competencies cut across so many different disciplines, and where students have access to demonstrate their mastery of a specific competency within a social studies course, and also in an English course, and also in a math course, and being able to report out on that. So it's not necessarily being done in silos or in these individual buckets within a grade level or a course. It's really something that expands throughout their 4 years of them demonstrating their knowledge and their mastery.
And just the 306s are the state minimums. They are 20 credits that the state has outlined what students need to graduate. We're currently, for this incoming class, going to be at a 24 credit Concord High School graduate. So we are exceeding the minimums. We are looking at the shift into how the new state minimums work into our interdisciplinary courses. As Jim said, those that don't necessarily need a standalone course, but can be met through a menu of courses that they could be taken over their 4 years at Concord High School.
All good? Ready to keep going?
Yes,
There's a lot on that slide. And this is where, when we come back in December, we're really going to dig into this. But I think what we're trying to start with you folks as the instructional committee is an understanding of this big picture and what we're going for. Mm-hmm. Because when we come back in December and we start looking at a credit here and a credit here and this here, even when we've been working with our curriculum facilitators, you can get a little lost in the minutia, and it's really important that we try to keep this big picture in mind and recognize that this is what Concord High School's already been working towards. Mm-hmm. And so while I may not like where that 0.5 credit is that 306s is, let's keep the big picture in mind mind, and how do we still keep moving forward with what we want and what's best for kids. But I will share with you that when you get into the weeds on this a little bit, it can be hard to still see this as the goal. So we'll be looking to you folks when we meet with the school board to be like, remember that slide? Where there were that big idea? That's going to be really important for
Might
us
be
to
helpful for us to have that somewhere.
Yep.
too, Where we can just say, remember,
Yep.
this is the big idea.
agree. Because that's the tough part. And it's been tough for us too when we meet each week.
When so much of this is speculative, it's like developing a picture in the old-fashioned way. You can't see what you're doing.
Right.
So sometimes it's like the first week of school transportation. You don't know if it's not going to work until it doesn't work.
Right.
You don't know how it's going to be difficult until you say, okay, this looked great on paper, or wow, I can't believe this worked.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we have to be ready
and
to
that's
wait
the
for that.
challenging part,
Right.
because what you don't want to have to keep doing is changing
Right.
what you create every year. We don't want that either. So how do we keep playing through all these scenarios
Right.
to recognize that we're coming up with the best plan that we don't have to keep changing?
And to learn to make adjustments within the plan.
Yes.
Not changing the plan.
I think in a most recent meeting we had with our facilitators, and again, you can get lost in the weeds when you look at the 306s and when you look at some of them and they attach them to credit. And I think sometimes the first instinct is like, oh, we got to create a course for this and create a course for this. And we really don't. It's about making sure that those competencies are being met across the students' career at Concord High School through these menu of options of courses. And in our recent meeting with our curriculum facilitators, we said, listen, what do we value most here at the school is that the kids have choice. The kids have options. They have lots of different ways to show their learning. So that needs to be kind of the umbrella in the forefront. And then how do we make these fit underneath that to maintain that choice and that flexibility?
Doesn't the new course catalog, if you want to do this, then follow this.
Pathways.
This-
Yeah.
The
I
pathways.
feel like this takes care of all of that. Meaning how we look at attaching credits to competencies.
If only the DOE had taken our pathways
Well,
and done it exactly that way. But
right,
yes, you
but
are
I mean, because
correct.
you're looking at, this class serves two functions. Okay,
Yes.
well, this
Yes.
class serves two competencies, or it's the same.
100%.
Again, the 603s were commented on by educators, not because the State Board of Ed requested it, but because teachers organized themselves
Yeah.
and tried to provide guidance, but were resoundingly ignored over the course of the 2-year process that
Right.
this went through.
Right.
It is purposefully vague and difficult to enact because the goal was not to provide quality minimum standards. The goal was to make this a very cumbersome and burdensome process. So if there are any kind of stumblings as we move through what is an intentionally vague, huge document that is only designed for legal people to understand, there's no fault on our district's part if there
Well, I
are
don't
any
ever-
fumblings.
I don't ever feel like
Yeah,
this.
and I know you don't either, but I'm trying to impress upon people that we're being asked to do things for the most part that I believe is unnecessary, and that we already as a district take good care of our kiddos and we make sure they have the education they need. This is a lot of paperwork and a lot more meetings than we should be having, but I appreciate the tone that you're using for presenting it and the way that you're trying to do this job. So thank you for, being cool heads where I am fuming. The 306 is
Honestly,
clearly.
as Chris said, the work that has been done prior to this.
It's
makes the
making it
process
easier.
Much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thank God,
And you look at
right?
schools who have even transitioned to competency-based education yet.
Yeah.
And compared to where we are.
Yeah.
We're shifting a couple things here and there. We're having conversations. We're bringing in stakeholders to get their opinions. So we're looking at it as the big picture right now as to how we make this the work for every student in our school.
Awesome. Thank you,
Why I
guys.
say you package this when you're done.
Yeah, and hand it out to everybody.
Well, the challenge is for smaller districts.
Yeah.
That's going to have
Yeah.
impact on staffing. And, if they can't do the blended model that we can afford to do here in
Yeah.
Concord, so.
We're very lucky to have you all. Thank you for letting me.
Recent graduate and valedictorian last year, this was a quote from her
Yeah, that's a
speech.
good one.
And it's just a prime example of, once again, Sarah said it well, we're doing our best to do what's best for kids, no matter what, with an understanding and a respect for the 306s. That's what we have to do. but the interdisciplinary learning, the pathways, and understanding that what you're learning in a classroom is way more than just for you, and it's always about collaborative and interdisciplinary. Phoebe said it really well. And so that's where we're going with this. Do you want to share some of the first few?
The one that always stands out for me the most is the very first one. Our learning opportunities are not just about standalone courses. When I stepped foot into the high school, the first thing I learned is that there are so many pathways for success, not just the pathways that are up on the walls for the academic paths, but if I'm not successful in any of those, I have so many other options between Plato and the adult program and ELOs, extended learning opportunities. And that's what really impressed me the most. And I wasn't fully aware of that, even as someone who's worked in the district for 13 years. And so I just feel like it's my job to keep bragging about that, and here it is right now. The work that has been completed is amazing. And I'm really having fun thinking about the 306s in terms of, so how is this going to work in terms of awarding credit? Because you have to tackle that black and white piece of it. Some districts are giving multiple credits if multiple competencies are being met through a course. Some districts are not. We haven't really fully decided. We've played around with a lot of different answers and haven't really landed, but it's been a very fun process to tackle that with this group of curriculum facilitators.
We've talked about a couple of these already, the competencies,
Yeah.
the proficiency and mastery. So I think a little bit of the application of knowledge over passive learning. I think that in our conversations with facilitators, we've been really talking about not only the 306s, but our standards and our competencies. It's not just about them absorbing them, but that can they demonstrate, and then can they transfer? That's really what it's all about. And what was interesting just this past week, there is a requirement for 0.5 financial literacy. And we got into a healthy conversation about where is that not just being taught passively, but where are they demonstrating that? Where are they transferring that knowledge? And what does that look like? What do those standards look like? So there's really healthy conversations happening about that across the building at the high school level. And when you compare that to 20 years ago in the siloed classrooms versus us now having that conversation across all disciplines, it's pretty interesting and exciting work. It's complicated work, very complicated work. But that's pretty interesting work. For us, the anytime, anywhere learning over the constraints of traditional bell-to-bell, that's tough because there's the theory and then there's the reality. And there is a difference between the experiences you have where you learn outside in the community and when you're with a trained certified teacher. Those are very different experiences. And we want to make sure that there's an acknowledgement that those are different. There might be learning happening, but it's different kinds of learning. And there's different kinds of standards that are being met there. So we're trying to pay attention to that too. Anything else from that side?
Yeah, we covered a lot of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a quick question. Teacher to learner ratios instead of strict class size numbers. How do folks feel about that? Like, are we worried that, I don't know, I'm having a hard time digesting that.
Right now, the enrollment numbers of students to the FTEs we have at the high school are good.
Yeah.
They're good. Our average class size is around between 21 to 25.
Yep.
We have very few that go up to 30. And we have some classes that are capped, like science for the safety of the students, or lab-based classes for the safety of the students. And you guys can weigh in too. As of right now, I don't have a major concern about the class sizes, and I don't think this will drive up class sizes.
Okay.
But
I would agree.
It's just a weird thing. I know it's not you guys.
what
but
it does bring about when the 306s came down, conversations around, does this eliminate some of the courses that have provided choices and opportunities for students? When in fact, I think listening to the team present and being part of some of the initial conversations, I think what people have realized over time, Smaller districts probably are challenged with the FTE. We're fortunate, and because we have a variety of courses, we do have a number of courses that provide an opportunity for students to meet these requirements without loading or overburdening one course. And anytime we do something as a silo, like it's only one course to meet the requirement, you find that it ends up pushing the students' opportunities further and further back if they're not successful the first time through. Whereas multiple courses where a student has an opportunity to demonstrate these competencies tends to alleviate that burden on a large number of students taking a class for the sake of a requirement, and also provides multiple opportunities for students to demonstrate these competencies over their time at the high school.
Thank you.
Anything?
Yeah, I would agree, Tim. And I think taking that kind of, creating a course for one of these really eliminates what we try to do at Concord High to provide the kids with choice and to find their passions. By just adding more courses that they have to take, then you only have so many periods of the day. That takes away from the kids who want to pursue every math and science course. They want to pursue every music and performing art course. So we're really working hard to make sure that we are not eliminating those choices for those students, because at the end of the day, we want them finding their passion and pursuing their passions while also meeting minimum standards.
And that goes back to that performance-based assessment where we're looking at all options, including portfolios, to show us, okay, how have you met this credit requirement over your 4 years? One of the things we'll be talking about in December specifically is digital literacy. Every student has a one-to-one device and is constantly engaged in digital literacy learning, how to appropriately use the internet, how to do research and things like that. So if we were going to a standalone course that was just digital literacy that required 1,400 kids to take by the time they graduated, that's when your class size numbers are getting out of control. But if they can demonstrate over a 4-year period, this is how I've integrated digital literacy, and we award credit based on that, that's where your teacher-learner ratios stay as they are.
Smart, smart.
So we do have a timeline here for you. If we do backwards design, we have to, by September of next year, look at the pathways for all students and implement the 306s. So in order to get there, we've been meeting regularly. The high school's been meeting regularly. What we hope to do in December is have a full board presentation. You can imagine that's going to take a little bit of time because there'll be questions. And at that point, you're going to see a side-by-side. What were our credit requirements and now what are our credit requirements? So you'll be able to see specific changes in course requirements. And then in January, you're going to have the new program of studies that's going to be published, which you had a chance to look at the last meeting. And then in the spring of 2026, we're going to do another presentation to the board to update you on final changes. So December board presentation is this is what we're required to do. This is what the 306s are, and then we'll have sort of solutions to our addressing the 306s in the spring board meeting.
That's a very fast.
It's very
timeline.
fast. It's very fast. But the high school, you've been working on it for
Since August.
Yeah, since these came out, yeah.
Even
Boom.
still, even from August, that's a very
Sarah,
swift timeline.
I would say we're very fortunate, and I'm not saying it just because they're in the room. We got a very talented leadership
I'm
group at
telling
the high
you,
school.
yeah, that's
and
what
the
is coming
building
across.
leadership team that's been assembled to support the work is fabulous. The teachers and counselors that support them in doing this work is great. So we are fortunate.
And I want to point out that in my limited experience working with the high school team, it is astounding to me that you can ask the staff, and you do, to do things, and they do it because they understand why they're doing it. They understand that it's for the students, to make their education better and more meaningful. And it's been probably the most rewarding part of being on the school board, is seeing that group at the high school do it. And I've always said, if we could just keep pushing it right down the line, we'll be unstoppable, because it's really pretty amazing. And so thank you to all of the staff that works on these and is willing to try things that aren't comfortable sometimes, because it's for the right reason.
Any other big, that's it for us. We kept it to.
Well done.
Thank you.
Oh, I did have a question. I love that your philosophy is centered on learner choice. I think that's awesome. And I'm curious, when we see your presentation to the full board, is there going to be any element of evaluation or how you all are gonna like look at implementation of
Yes.
these standards?
Yes.
All right, so we can expect that. to the
You can
full
expect
board?
that, yes.
Excellent. I'm
Yes.
particularly concerned around like equity issues, how folks are, ELO opportunities are amazing.
Mhm.
And I'm really interested to make, what can we do to ensure equity of access?
Yep. Yes, and part of our plan too is having possibly multiple pathways in order to meet. There might be a more traditional model of meeting, and there might be some other kind of way to meet as well, because it's one of the beauties of the Concord School District is you work and find flexible ways and multiple pathways for students. So the one size fits all doesn't work in a large school district. And so we are thinking about that. And that will be part of the presentation.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Good question, Sarah.
Yeah, the whole, because that's the way it's done, doesn't work here. And-
No, it doesn't.
And people understand that, and it is.
Right, and it's not consistent with the philosophy. If we
Exactly.
center it,
Right.
student-centered learning.
Being the old lady in the room, I remember at the turn of the century when we came up with the list, the active self-directed learners, that was like groundbreaking at the time. Children were seen and not heard forever. And this whole, but you look at that, we take that list, and I think we've had the mindset for it for a long time. I also know this work is so much easier at the high school level because kids can give feedback. A fifth grader can't always tell you what they get or don't get, or even show competency even if they do get it. And so just your thing about high school students, that's I think, and at Concord High, they're allowed to say, this really sucks, and at least that's
I've
my.
heard that.
Every morning.
Several times a day.
Some things never change.
But I'm listening to all this, and I just think sometimes the more things change, the more they stay the same. And it goes back to looking at what we already do and adjusting it to fit this new expectation that really is what we're already doing. So we just have to change the wallpaper across.
Team.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
You want me to come back?
Let's talk.
So our second agenda item is going to make your eyes blurry as well. You have been handed a document in front of you which represents our K through 12 vertical alignment for English language arts. And as you know, doing vertical alignment of competencies is a goal that we've had throughout Concord High School or Concord School District. Recently, we did the math alignment, we did the social studies alignment, and we did the SEL alignment. So it's a very, very daunting task that we were set forth to do. It took us 1.5 years to get what is right in front of you. It's not the final published version because we'll have a nicer version to give to the board as a handout in December. So essentially, I wanted to first acknowledge the team that worked on these. We had K through 12 representatives, and we started 1.5 years ago. And all of the persons listed there put in tremendous amount of hours during the school day, after school, and over the summer to complete this document. And jump in anytime, Kylie. So some of the language that I want you to become familiar with before we start, our definitions anyway, is that we started with the Common Core Standards, which is a set of consistent academic guidelines for K through 12 education in ELA and math, designed to ensure students are prepared for college and careers after high school. It's a very, very, very dense document, and the standards to meet and address every single one of the competencies or standards is really high, and it's very difficult to do. So what this committee did was they looked at all of those standards and said, which ones are going to be our power standards? Which ones are going to be our guaranteed curriculum? So as you flip through this document, you're going to see everything in green represents a competency that we're going to guarantee and all students will be exposed to at a specific grade level. you'll also see, Barbara's flipping through, I can see that some of those standards follow the child K through 12. So the standard doesn't, that guaranteed standard doesn't necessarily, or competency doesn't necessarily change that power standard. It will go all the way from K through 12. So, to be able to read complex text, that might be a competency that you'll see K through 12. Then underneath that, and this is where the work really got sticky for us, was to decide what are going to be the essential standards. And those are the ones that were going to be tied to an assessment. So in black of this document, underneath many of the competencies are many of the, we're calling them power standards, I'm sorry. In black are the essential standards, and those are the ones that you might find on an assessment or report card, a formative assessment. It could be that many of these are aligned right now to our K through 6 report of progress. So we've already gone through this process, but we took that document and made it a fluid document so we weren't stuck with the standards that we originally picked to report out on. We really wanted to take a very, very fresh look at everything. So we broke into grade level teams and just began digging through and sticky notes all over the room and tried to come with agreements. And then once the K through 3 group would be done, the 3rd grade team would look with the 4th grade to make sure that there was alignment, and then we would check with the 5th grade team into the 6th grade team to make sure that there was alignment. We weren't dropping a particular standard. We were teaching it and all the way up into 6th grade, dropping it in 7th and 8th and picking it up in 9th. We made sure that it was very, very fluid and would make sense to the pathway for students. So in doing that too, I wanted to mention that the Common Core standards you're responsible for all of them, but it's important to create a curriculum that is manageable. And in looking through this, we're using common assessments throughout the district, and for the most part, to see if students are proficient in the standard or if they need some reteaching. So I'm just going to give you a couple examples from the document because it is so dense that I don't want you to have to try to unpack it. Okay? So I color-coded it according to the document. So everything in purple throughout this document are the foundational skills, and the foundational skills just go K through 5. And those, you're probably aware of, are simple things. In kindergarten, you're going to be looking at print concepts, demonstrating an understanding of basic features of print. And then you can see the substandards or the standards that are underneath the power standard. And just in juxtaposition, you can see the foundational skills in grade 5, the depth increases. The rigor increases, and it still might be foundational skills, but it changed to phonics and word recognition. And these are just highlights from the document. This is not a complete list, but I wanted to go through the basic headings throughout it. So anything in the purplish color that you see is the language conventions, and that goes K through 12. So an example of one at grade 2 would be demonstrating command of conventions. You can see that the complexity changes in 8th grade, demonstrate command of conventions. Grammar usage when writing or speaking, actually that one reads the same, but what you're going to be doing in 8th grade that's different is an example of what you might be doing differently is interpreting figures of speech in context, where you'd be grade appropriate for 2nd grade to be looking at tense and verbs. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. Speaking and listening and viewing are K through 12 competencies, and I just gave you an example of one that's at kindergarten level. You're going to have collaborative conversations with diverse partners. It's really just looking like how do you have a conversation? How do you communicate with one another? And that same speaking and listening standard, if you look at 6th and 7th, they actually read exactly the same. So you can see the continuity again through the grade level when selecting particular standards.
Do you have anything about how they change when you get to the high school?
It's all in here.
But you didn't pull that part out.
I think the next one is an example.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I tried to just vary it up so I was showing
Yeah, no,
different
that's
grade
great.
levels and stuff. So
There you go, yeah.
yeah, so here we have K through 12 is their writing, and in grade 3, here's an example of what you're going to be required to do write opinion pieces, and then you're going to work on informational text, and then work on narrative in writing through those different lenses. And then, do you want to talk about 9 and 10?
So, the Common Core is set up interestingly when you get to the high school because it actually does 2 grade level bands. They do 9 and 10 together, and they do 11 and 12 together in a band, which makes it challenging when you're trying to create a district curriculum, as far as you have to kind of tease out what it is. And so for 9 and 10, when you get to arguments, that's when you're starting to use the words claim, talking about counterclaims, and then making sure that your argument is well organized. What's been helpful for us in looking at this is, most importantly, and Kim mentioned it, is the transition from 8 to 9 and ensuring that we're not repeating the same standard. You know, the overarching may sound similar, but when you read the fine print, there is an increase in complexity in what you're asking students to do between 8 and 9. And that's often where we lose a little ground in ensuring that we're increasing the rigor of the standard. So this is really great work for us to be able to make sure that that transition, we're using the grade level standards. But at the 9, 10, and 11, 12, you'll see that some of them we broke up because we do see that there might be something developmentally more appropriate for a 9th grader or a 10th grader.
And embedded at the high school are the research competencies. We didn't pull them out as separate because they're embedded in reading, they're embedded in writing. Reading, literature, and informational, they're separated out in the Common Core. They're K through 12 competencies. And so I gave you an example here of a grade 4 and a grade 8. So you can see how it changes in complexity.
Nice.
So that is just an overview for you. Again, when we present this to the board in December, we'll get into somewhat
People need
more
to bring snacks.
detail, okay?
It's real.
You know what?
Protein
you know
bars.
What?
Yeah.
So,
brain food.
you know what? I'll create a cheat sheet for this document for the board. And really, at this point, it's just needs to be voted on. And typically, we would have the curriculum. We're calling this our guaranteed curriculum. We would have this in place before we would start looking for a research-based program for K through 5, because we're going to make sure that it's aligned with what we selected as our curriculum. But time is an issue, and so we've put together an ELA curriculum selection committee and have just started that, but we'll make sure that we are also making sure there's alignment to this document.
It does seem like we are way ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And well on our way to doing really great work, and I just think Kathleen would be so proud.
I know.
She would be.
Yeah, I
She'd
agree.
be wicked, yeah.
This was really a lot of great people, and it was fun.
Only a teacher could say that. I understand.
No, but
I'm
it is,
looking at
no, I
that
get
and-
it though,
yeah,
like,
but if
like
we're a teacher-
all I'm doing right now is picturing in my head
Exactly.
how an 8-year-old and a 16-year-old demonstrate the same competency.
And as a retired third grade teacher, I can see exactly why it would be so helpful to have that vertical alignment so that I
Yes.
understood
Where they need to go.
why they
Yeah.
needed to know exactly what they needed to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really, it's important information to have as a teacher.
Yep, for teachers and for families, we'll
Yeah.
publish this once it's approved, we'll publish it on the website.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, and thank you to you and to the committee, this is outstanding, I think this is outstanding.
Yeah.
And I wonder when you do the summary document for the board, if that could be the same kind of summary document that could be available to parents with plain language, you know, when I think of like English language learners, for example, like, you know, diagraph, like what, it feels
Yeah,
like.
what might that mean?
I barely understand what it is now.
I'm sure I could, right?
Right,
Like,
yeah.
I definitely think that if we had some sort of summary document in plain language with like, you know, a 6th grade reading level about how these things stack together, it could increase confidence.
I'm gonna stick this right into AI and ask him to make it a
Exactly.
6th grade.
Yes, and that's how we use tools.
And then check it, right?
Yeah, all the things.
And maybe you do one for each grade level. You say, this is what your child will be working on in reading and writing this year. And
and why it's important, and then you give them another one in 4th grade or another one in 5th grade so that they can understand and keep that continuing, and it helps them to stay engaged as well.
I gotta hand it to our present teachers, though. I find that I am very well abreast of everything that my kids are consuming or learning or participating in class. So, I mean, just more transparency. What's not to love? This is incredibly thorough. Tip of the hat. This is awesome.
That, Sarah, you're so on the money about that paired with like a curriculum map, like a parent could know kind of what folks are, you know, it's just.
And then you're feeding into the 306s, which is all about like, how are you pulling parents in and how are you giving them the information they need? Y'all are doing a great job. I love it. It's so good.
So, thank you very much, and I appreciate you taking just taking a quick snapshot at that. I just
got
wanted
it.
you to be able to kind of unpack the document a little bit by giving you those comparisons.
Thank you.
And then there was the question of what our initiatives are for this year, and I do have to say that the 306s it's a big initiative for us to be working on.
Yes.
So we're spending a lot of time, and particularly almost weekly at this point at the high school. Every week, yeah. And as well, we're just coming up for air after creating this document for the ELA curriculum revision. We have 2 big committees that are going on. One of them is the ELA selection committee for K through 6. We're including 6th grade in this. We really want to make sure that we have a nice segue into the middle school when we're picking a program, and that we're not jumping right into sort of the novel studies at 6th grade, but giving some more foundational skills and expanding upon those. So we just had our first meeting last week, and we have different vendors that are coming in and giving us presentations. We'll narrow it down to probably 2 programs and then do a pilot over the winter into the spring, and then from that get teacher feedback and select a final program for adoption. Likewise, do you want to talk about the Algebra 1 committee?
Yeah, so the district, leaning away.
It's such a pain in the neck.
So the district had the good fortune of going through a math program selection committee K through 6, and as a result of that chose iReady. However, we have not chosen something that is 7 through 10. And it's just as essential that there is some consistency in programming to support the standards and the competencies, perhaps even all the way through Algebra 2. So with Kim's guidance, we're putting together a committee that will look at Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and we'll see if the program also has a decent geometry to go along with it. But we're working in conjunction with the middle school to select a program that we're all using, so that there's consistency for students no matter where they take Algebra 1, when they take Algebra 1, and perhaps some consistency even amongst some of those different courses that are required. So that's exciting.
That's
but
really cool.
It's a lot of work, so.
I do have to say the 7th grade teachers at Runlet were like, what are you doing over there? When the 6th grade teachers were implementing the iReady math program. And they're like, So this year they are actually piloting it.
Oh, great.
And so there'll be an expense if they decide to go with it at the 7th grade, but they are loving it. And it just, that notion of K through 7 math program, and then we're going to move into like, okay, let's take a look at Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. So that committee starts up tomorrow.
Brilliant.
And
Congratulations.
thank you. And then finally, I would say another large sort of initiative throughout the district is we're looking at maximizing Schoology as a product. And you mentioned the high school is looking at getting all of their curriculum alignment up into Schoology. It's available for parents, available for students, and we're going to look to bring some of that down to 5th grade just to help with transition from 5th to 6th, so that when students get to 6th grade and you say sign into Schoology, they're not going, what? And parents aren't going, what? So we're going to try to do a little bit of filtering down and working out all the kinks. Can you think of other things?
You mentioned earlier the counseling curriculum that will be presented as required 306s, but they've been working on. I think we've made some good gains, and maybe Fern could also speak to some of the SEL work and implementation of that. She continues to lead the charge on that. And outside of that, Yeah, change makers at the elementary level as well. So you'll hear more about this. Fern is going to be attending a couple instructional as well as some board meetings later on in the year. So you'll get some more information on that as well. But it all is in that curriculum umbrella, and we got a lot going on. Yeah.
Clearly.
At various, and they're all at various stages, you know, to the credit of the people doing this work. Some, yes, we have this sort of document in place and we're piloting programs, where others, we have the document. We are in, you know, year 2 of a program, gathering data, looking at how successful it's been and expanding on it. So all of these initiatives we share with you have started over time and are at different places in their implementation. So.
We certainly are doing an awful lot. Is there anything that we've been able to take off teachers' plates?
Well, interestingly enough,
That'd
with
be
the
nice.
implementation of change makers this year for, you know, that's K through 5, and then, is it Wayfinder that they're, the
Wayfinders at the
middle school? Those, that's new to the teachers, so these initiatives are more going to be impacting students the following year. However, I think there isn't a teacher out there that's not going to embrace having an ELA program. That's
prescribed for them.
prescribed, yeah,
So
and
they don't have
succinct.
to create it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Whereas before, you had the time with the students, but you did not necessarily have a toolbox to go to draw on these. So, but I'll be honest with you, I don't know if teachers ever really take something off the plate. I think prioritizing something that's just natural to an educator, and we look at the students in the room with us and we adjust. It is difficult to say, and we ever take something fully off the plate. But
Let's get bigger plates.
we try to make it. We do try and make it easier,
I guess
yeah,
that's what
and
I
more
was-
accessible, yeah, and try and be, really, what's the word I'm looking for? Responsive to, they need time to do what they need to do during the day, and not occupy their time with a bunch of more,
Make sure
work.
kids are still getting
Yep,
outside,
yep.
that they're not on devices all the time, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So.
Well, and to build up what Tim's saying, I mean, we're very fortunate because K through 12, we have a pretty veteran staff.
That's
But
true.
when you have a veteran staff, you've been doing things a certain way for a long time. And when something new comes down, you often don't have the mindset of, oh, I need to do something less from what I used to do to add in something that maybe I didn't do. Veteran teachers will just say, well, I'm just gonna do it all, and that can build up a lot of stress. And so sometimes, and it's just a good reminder that what we can do with teachers is say, okay, this might add in a standard or two you hadn't been doing in 4th grade, but there's gonna be something you may have to take out.
Right.
You won't be able to fit it all, and that's okay. But what we're guaranteeing is going to create a healthier environment for kids across the board when they move from grade to grade in the Concord School District, so that's a benefit. But you do have to let go of some things, and that's really
I
hard.
think that's what I was trying to.
It's really hard to do, but we need to help them to be able
Yep.
to do that.
And let them know that it's okay.
Yeah, I think
Maybe
that's.
necessary.
Yeah.
That's a healthy conversation. That
Yeah.
You can't cover the entire document as you would like to, and you have to pick those power standards and central standards that you're focusing on.
Excellent.
I'm gonna use that at work tomorrow, thank you.
It's challenging. It's
Yeah.
very challenging.
No, but you're right, it's all industries and it's,
Yep,
that
it
was
is.
beautifully said, thank you.
Is there anything else? Well, then I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned, and we thank you very, very much.
Thank you,
As
thank you.
always.
Yeah, that was
Thank you.
fantastic.